Hello. I watched the trailer for the new Angelina Jolie film. Actually, her directional debut, as far as I know, Unbroken. It's about the famous Olympian. Forget the guy's name now, but his story is well documented. Who became a POW of Japan during World War II, and it's a biography of his experience. Now, perhaps predictably, on the comments section for the trailer, there were a lot of heated politicized comments about Hollywood always making films making America look good and always trying to make someone else look bad. And then there was individuals coming on and talking about how awful America is and the killings of Native Americans, and there was one guy who called himself Iraqi freedom fighter who was vociferously anti-American and said something along the lines of 1 million people have been killed in Iraq by Christians, so we have to kill 1 million Christians in return, and so on and so on. And this guy was just basically an utter racist. He just had an outright hatred for white people. I want to divide this video into two parts. Firstly, dealing with anti-Americanism and my thoughts on that, and secondly, the broader issue of how hate and xenophobia spreads online, because I think talking about it can sometimes offer reflections, not necessarily solutions, but perhaps just reflections, and it might be helpful in terms of avoiding such problems. Firstly, the anti-Americanism is you just have to look at almost any video about history and you'll see at least one or two anti-American comments. And by anti-American, this isn't just American foreign policy is morally wrong. This is just outright hatred, just absolute vociferous hatred. Now, there's a few things I'd like to say. Firstly, in no way do I want people to think this is a video whereby I'm whitewashing American history or trying to say that the US doesn't have faults or anything like that. Anyone who's looked at my videos for a while will see that I've got videos on a very wide range of subjects, and I've had a number of videos that are critical of things that happen in America. I mean, some of the most recent, for example, have been police abusing their power. I've also had very strong views on America's gun culture, which I believe is a huge problem. The reason I don't make videos on issues like the killing of Native Americans is because those issues are already well covered. I suppose you could argue the other issues are as well, but some people might say, well, if you attack the Chinese Communist Party for their human rights violations, why not attack America as well? I believe I have actually made one or two videos, for example, on the CIA, but there's an important difference here, and it is something that I think is very significant. In the United States of America, and in democratic countries in general, there is something very, 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 very sacrosanct. That is freedom of expression. Now, the reason this is significant is because whilst America does have many problems and does have a very dark history in many ways, American citizens can 99% of the time freely talk about those issues. An American citizen is not going to be arrested for simply talking and discussing and critiquing the killing of Native Americans. It's not going to happen. Now, granted, there's other areas where the freedom of expression issue is not that concrete, and I'm not going to say that I don't believe America is the freest country in the world at all. Far from it. I'm not going to suggest which country is. I don't know, but I don't think we could say that America is the freest country when there is the current situation regarding police power and CIA eavesdropping and all that sort of thing. So I don't believe it's the freest country in the world. The expression greatest country in the world, well, how do we define greatness? Certainly America is the most powerful country in the world, there's no question about that, but in terms of greatness. Actually, I just recall I did actually make videos about this, so I suppose the videos I spoke about, I think the title of them was "Is America the Greatest Country in the World? Part 1 and 2 question mark. For me, I'm captivated by the United States as a country that's always fascinated me. American history, I mean, I think it's impossible to avoid really, because it is the superpower of our generation. I have 3 flags in my room, just collected over different times. Those 3 flags are the United Kingdom, the United States of America, and the People's Republic of China. And I think it's fair to say those 3 countries have had a bigger impact on me than anywhere. The UK goes without saying, it's my country. But the United States and China are the other 2 flags. And it's perhaps not a coincidence that those 2 countries are the most powerful countries in the world. Russia is, I would say, third. But without going off on a tangent, I have a lot of affection for America in many ways. There's a lot of things I like about the United States. But I don't want to make this video just all the pros and all the cons. I've done it before. So just to be clear, in absolutely no way am I saying that America is faultless. And I do believe that there has been a track record of arrogance and violently forcing Washington's foreign policies onto other countries, especially during the Cold War. It was nothing to do with human rights, much more to do with geopolitical strategy. For example, successive American presidents would support any regime that was favourable to their interests, regardless of that regime's human rights record. And there's certainly evidence that in the Reagan years, the White House supported some pretty autocratic regimes, and they have a track record of that. In a post-9/11 world and a post-Arab Spring world, I think the Obama administration has realised they've got themselves into a trap, and to some extent I think the Clinton administration also realised this, whereby years of pandering to dictatorships made America, in many quarters, let's be honest, hated. But I think this is unfortunate that there is so little objectivity, because when I see these comments, there's no objectivity about it. I mean, the issue about 1 million people being killed in Iraq, well, I would like to ask that guy, well, where did most of those deaths come from? They came from sadistic thugs who blew themselves up in marketplaces. I still maintain it is unfair to blame all of the deaths in Iraq on Bush and Blair. And I know that's a controversial position to take. This remains a deeply controversial subject. But it seems to me it's very difficult to try and make an objective point of view, because people will automatically pigeonhole you. So for example, if you say it's unfair to blame all the deaths on Iraq on the coalition forces, then people will turn around and say, oh, you support American warmongering, which is not necessarily true. Actually, I actively opposed the intervention in Iraq at that time. But it seems to me that when it comes to hatred of America, there's almost no objectivity, because it is without question America has probably had more wars than any other country in the 20th century. And I imagine Britain is second place. So neither Britain or America can ever preach about pacifism, because we're not pacifist countries, let's just be honest about that. But what I do resent is that there are people out there who want to blame all the world's problems on America. And the reason that makes me angry is because it then exonerates other powerful players, such as China, such as Russia, and such as the ideology known as Islamism, which I believe is a poison in this world. I believe Islamism is to the 2010s what communism and fascism were to the 1930s. Now, it's not necessarily a case of nation states, although it could be argued that Islamism has a massive influence on nation states, such as Saudi Arabia. But anyway, what I resent is people who are so anti-American, but they will not objectively consider that there are other important players in the world as well, who also have blood on their hands. I can accept people criticising America. Hell, I can even accept people hating America, although I don't think that's a healthy way to have a world outlook. But I don't know, if you've had your entire family killed in an American or coalition bombing raid, it's hard to tell that sort of person that they don't have a right to feel hatred, because it's entirely human. However, I have very little time for people who distort and try to put all the blame on America when there are other important players in the world. Now, this film, just to be clear, was about the treatment of POWs during World War II by Japan. That's historic fact. It's historic fact that Imperial Japan treated POWs in an absolutely appalling manner. So I don't see any problem with documenting that. And some people were saying, oh, well, when's Hollywood going to make a film about all of America's atrocities? Actually, there has been many films documenting the darker aspects of American history. Many films. So the insinuation they're making is that America's dark history is whitewashed and ignored. I have no doubt that there are presidents in American history who, given half a chance, would have whitewashed history. But the fact of the matter is, you cannot compare the freedom of expression situation as it stands in America to a country like China or Turkey or many other countries that basically whitewash their own history, scapegoat America for everything, and or in the case of China, they scapegoat Japan as well. Now, the reason I mention China is because it is the next most powerful country, so it's the nearest example we can offer. And China is, in my experience, an incredibly dishonest country. It's a great country. I love it very much, but China is not an honest country when it comes to self-reflection, and that's a fundamental difference. Yes, there are Americans who will deny this stuff. Yes, there are arrogant Americans, but I'm talking about the situation there, and the situation is that people can freely talk about all of these issues. I don't believe there is any issue that is off the cards when it comes to American history. If American students want to do a project on the killing of Native Americans, I don't think anything would stop them. And it's well documented. This is why I've never made a video on it, because it's well documented in the first place. I try to make videos on things that, okay, I do make videos on topical subjects, but I also make videos on things I believe don't get as much attention as they should. So all I'm trying to say here is that it's legitimate to be opposed to American policy, but I just wish people would be more objective. And for my part, I try to be objective. So when I criticize the Chinese Communist Party, I'm not saying they are the only government in the world that has blood on their hands. But the reason I'm so vocal about that is because in China, it's censored. So there's no balance there. And it is actually up to outsiders to speak about it, because in China it's too damn difficult. And I read somewhere, in a fair world, all of the world's wrongs would be remembered. Now, the fact of the matter is, a lot of countries really do whitewash their history. Even Japan, which is a democratic country, in my opinion, it hasn't fully accepted its war guilt. So I see no problem with these sort of films. It's not a film designed to demonize Japan. It's just a film chronicling an individual's struggle to overcome adversity. I don't think it's intended as an American propaganda film. Well, it might be. Okay, I haven't seen it yet, but based on the trailer and based on similar films that I've seen, I don't think that's necessarily the case. No doubt about it, in the past there were propaganda films, blatant propaganda films, but I actually think Hollywood is more objective these days. I do believe that. It's far from perfect. I mean, Braveheart was an absolute joke in terms of historical accuracy, but most historic films are not 100% accurate. That's just the nature of film. I mean, this is the point. They're not documentaries, they're films. But anyway, you know, I'm talking about America, but I'm also talking about wider issues. I mean, this guy just hated white people, full stop. Now, I have two emotions when I come across people with that sort of mentality. One hand, anger and resentment, because I'm a white guy and I don't appreciate being pigeonholed into the same group as, say, the Ku Klux Klan. So I do feel angry and resentful. But then on the other hand, I feel sorry for people who have such an outlook where they can hate an entire group of people. I have no respect for anybody who slanders the entire white race because of the behaviour of some colonialists and white racists. And I don't believe in the liberal attitude of, oh yes, we were guilty, we should just take all the abuse. No, I don't believe in that. An intelligent adult has no excuse whatsoever for demonising an entire race. And as a white guy, I do resent it, because I know what my values are, I know how anti-racist I am, and to hell with the notion that I will accept being tarred with the same brush as those people. It's not my personal responsibility. It's my responsibility as a human being to condemn it, but it's not my personal responsibility what they've done. So that's an attitude I've got no respect for whatsoever, and I don't cry the victim. I don't buy the victimhood mentality. Oh, these poor evil white men killing us, etc. It's no. If you can make hateful comments on YouTube, then as far as I'm concerned, you have access to technology, you have access to the internet, you've no excuses for that sort of mentality. And half the time these people are living in the United States anyway, and that to me is just outright hypocrisy. I can understand people who say we don't like the American government, we disagree with their actions, but we don't hate America. I think that would be an objective viewpoint. That's why when I say I hate many of the things the Chinese Communist Party does, I always have the caveat that I am not anti-Chinese, and I never will be. In fact, I am never going to hate an entire group of people because of the actions of the government. Now, it might be that there's reactionary right-wing Americans who don't help the situation, because they have blowhard and racist attitudes to the rest of the world. That doesn't help. But consider this. The United States of America is a country of 317 million people, third most populous country in the world, and arguably the most diverse country in the world. If America is so awful, why is it so many people try to get there every year? All I'm saying is that, yes, we can acknowledge America has a very long track record of violence. There's no question about that, and so does my country, incidentally. And just so it doesn't seem like I'm just solely focusing on America, there's many areas that Britain can be criticised. Hell, our empire has rivers of blood on its hands. But I'm not going to be critical of a film that is documenting crimes of the British Empire. However, what I would say is that because the empire was so big and over a very long period of time, it is ignorant to simply dismiss it as entirely bad. Likewise, it is ignorant to simply dismiss America as entirely bad. Likewise, it is ignorant to say that absolutely everything about the Chinese Communist Party and absolutely everything they've done is bad, because that's not the case. So when it comes to power, I believe we need to be objective. I don't like the Chinese and Russian governments, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be racist and hostile to Chinese and Russian people. Because we all share the same world. We're human beings. And people need to get out of this brainwashed mindset of judging people by their governments, or judging people by their race. I just find it very depressing and very unfortunate that a lot of people have that mentality. Like, you whites are this. But let's consider that for a minute. White people can be found everywhere from Russia to Chile. So the idea that all white people are one and the same is bullshit. But I've now got to a point in my life where I'm thinking, why waste time trying to convert ignorant people? I can try to debate with these people, but how can you debate with someone who immediately looks down on you because of your skin pigmentation? So how can I debate with someone who thinks I am a devil because I'm a white guy? You can't. So I'm going to have a New Year resolution in 2015. When it comes to these sort of ignoramuses online, I'm not going to humour them. They don't deserve it. It's okay having differences of opinion with someone, debates, and I've been involved in quite a lot of debates that have been quite civil, and we've disagreed, but it's went down quite a civil route. From now on, I'm not going to humour people like that. I'm okay, he wasn't directing the comments at me, but I was tempted to reply and point out some of the things that I've mentioned in this video, but I'm thinking there's no getting through to a guy like that. So, forget it. It's like when I talk about Islamists, I'm not referring to all Muslims, and anyone with a brain can see that. I mean, this video's went on a lot longer than I expected. I hope it uploads. But I do think it is important, the issues that I've raised here. And this is how hatred spreads. When people generalise an entire group because of the actions of some. You know, there are people in America that maybe hate all police because some are corrupt. We have to stop judging by the group. It's the absolute epitome of human ignorance is to say all of these people are the same. It's just wrong. But you know, I'm no longer going to get worked up and angered and waste time with people that just wallow in their own stupidity. I feel sorry for them. I'm going to enjoy my life. I'm going to have an open mind to everyone I meet, and I can honestly say I've met people from all ethnic groups: Christian, Muslim, Jew, Hindu, Buddhist. It's the truth. And it's just a decent adult thing to do, is to treat individuals as individuals, not as nationalities, not as religions, and not as ethnic groups. Because people are individuals, everyone has flaws, and all of us can be guilty of not knowing the whole picture. To some extent, we're all ignorant. That's all I want to say. Thank you for watching.